Hello everybody and welcome back to Victoria, where last episode, I think it was last episode anyway, we attempted to get off of isolationism and the shogunate threw a giant fit. Now, I get it, to some degree. That does make some amount of sense. Now, if we want to get off of tenant farmers, which we would like to do to reduce the shogunate's power level, moving to something like homesteading would be interesting. The rural folk do support this law. The industrialists support commercialized agriculture. Although we would need mutual funds for that, whereas we would not need that for homesteading. Okay, I would also like to get off of closed borders. Obviously, that would be really, really good. That would be a really good thing to do indeed. The rural folk oppose that, but the industrialists approve of it. That's interesting. We could potentially use commercialized agriculture to get rid of the shogunate's bonus to political strength, while at the same time planning to move to homesteading later. Although, is commercialized agriculture actually a problem? Well, I mean, the fact that we don't have mutual funds is a problem. That would mean that we should go for closed borders first, which does make sense. That would help Hokkaido and Sakhalin. So I do think that we should probably consider doing that. Would that end up... Okay, that wouldn't radicalize the shogunate. Cool. So that looks absolutely good. I think we should do that then. We definitely want to be getting the shogunate out of power, and this would be a stepping stone toward that anyway. This puts us down to a contested government, which isn't good for reducing our radicalism, but at least it's not going to be massively increasing our radicalism. That seems relatively fine. So migration controls or no migration controls is the choice we need to make here. That is the interesting question. So, with closed borders, all pops are disallowed from migrating. Personally, and this is a nitpick with Paradox, but personally, I don't think that this should stop internal migration, only external migration, so they can't leave our country, they can't come into our country, but they can move around within our country. I think that that's the way that closed borders should work. And then maybe, because if you want to keep, like, particular population groups in a particular area, that's what migration controls are for, right? So I think that that should be split off into two different things, but it's not. So the question is, do we want migration controls or no migration controls? They have the same chance to progress, and I don't think it really matters to us which we go for. Only the industrialists support no migration controls. There are more interest groups supporting migration controls. Would this radicalize anyone? Yes, the rural folk. Okay, so we don't really want to radicalize the rural folk. No one would get radicalized by migration controls, so let's get started on that. That'll be fine. Now, we are working on railways and government administrations. We're building barracks in the background now, and that's definitely something that's going to be useful. The United States did some colonization. Okay, that's fine. For now, we're not too concerned about that, although we will be upset about it later. And not very far in the future, either. Very soon, we'll be upset about that. But it's okay for the moment. So we have a railway, 2 railways being built in Kyushu, a low market access in Kyushu, that will get dealt with. Wood and tools, we should probably consider building some additional tooling. 74 in Kansai, that seems overbuilt. Okay, we'll build this into Tohoku, and I want to build actually 16 here. Yes, that's going to be a lot. Do we want to build these all at once? No. I want to do something kind of like that, and then we can work in some of these barracks. Actually, what I want to do here is I want to move any of these that are not currently being constructed down to the bottom. So we'll do something like this. Now we're still working on barracks, although it's slow, and we're going to get mostly tooling workshops done in Tohoku. So that'll be fine. We'll see what happens with migration controls. We've been wanting to move on to this for a while, but we've not really had great opportunities to do it, thanks Shogunate. But now this seems like a reasonable time to. So I like it. That seems absolutely great. 1.72% pop growth, that's solid. I like it. Radicalism is currently holding. Fair enough. That's certainly fair enough. Okay, so that sounds great. We're very happy about getting this passed. That's been needed for a while. No doubt about that. And we would also like to get steel frame buildings done soon. I mean, the additional construction sector max level isn't that big of a deal, but steel frame buildings is. What is that going to do, though, to our steel market? That's a question we should ask, and the answer is probably going to absolutely destroy it. Glass as well? Okay. Glass and steel and tools. So, to that end, we are going to queue up some glass works. This is going to be at the end of the queue. I'm going to queue up in Chigoku 12 of them, actually, is the number that we need. So 12 in Chigoku, we'll call that good for now. And then steel mills, we're going to need to queue up. Current economy of scale cap is 31, correct? Just double checking that. I believe it's 31. Yes, okay. So we're going to bring, I know it says 30. It's actually 31. So we're going to bring this up to +8 here, and I'm going to bring this up to +18 in Kansai. So that'll be fine. The US is continuing to colonize. Again, that's going to be a problem, but for now, it's okay. We had a stall here, and that's a nasty stall. We have to take our setback here. It's painful. It's a nasty stall there, but we'll accept it. At least our success chance goes up a little bit. We're likely going to be running a deficit here pretty soon. Wood and coal shortage, sure, but getting the migration controls done would mean... They are uprising, okay. That would mean that we can actually build out our coal mines, which would be really nice. Coal mines, iron mines, sulfur and lead would be good too, but for right now, we're not too concerned about that. We would love to be able to get these unemployed people migrating into Hokkaido and Sakhalin, which is the point behind migration controls. So that sounds great. We're actually not running a deficit right now, which is surprising. But let's get these tooling workshops done right now. We can move some of these steel mills up once the tooling workshops finish. I just want to be working on barracks with spare construction right now, because we're not going to need the steel mills and the glass works super badly for a while. So for now, this is okay. We're going to be barely running a surplus. This is comforting. I'm actually very comfortable with being in this position economically right now. I think this is good. Now, the barracks are going to be a constant drain on our resources. There's no doubt about that, but that's okay. We're fine with that. That is fully expected. So the tooling workshops are getting finished now. How far away are we on steel frame buildings? 23 months. What's 23 times 4? 20 times 4. 92. Okay, so the calculator says 92 weeks until we have this. 129 weeks in our construction queue. So what that tells me is we should move up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to be working on some glassworks and some steel mills, just so that we're not completely overwhelmed when we switch over here. We got a debate here, foreign faiths. Actually, this is fine. 15% enactment success chance. I like it. So we're going to try to not be completely overwhelmed by glass and steel demand when we swap over, is the idea here. So we're going to get these 5 completed. We're also likely going to continue to need to build infrastructure and government administrations. For now, our infrastructure is okay. Government administrations do require work in Shikoku and in Chubu. And so we'll put those right at the top of the queue for right now. That seems okay. Our barracks will be worked on when we have spare construction efficiency. Or rather, spare construction to throw at it. And getting the migration controls is not directly an attack on the shogunate, but that will hopefully empower some additional political groups so that we can work towards getting off of tenant farmers. I would love to get to commercialized agriculture or homesteading. Homesteading would probably be the preferential way to go. I don't mind the rural folk getting the political strength here necessarily, although maybe commercialized agriculture would be better for that. That would mean mutual funds. Where are we at for mutual funds right now? Not being worked on at all. Central Archives are. Central Archives are actually pretty close to being done. That means that we shouldn't need significant taxation capacity for a while. Noted. I'm going to queue up mutual funds for our next tech here. That'll be fine. We are running a small deficit. I don't mind that. That seems completely okay. So these two government administrations are going to be done. I don't think we're going to need significant government administration construction due to the exposure of central archives here. That'll also give us access to standardized filing systems, which, again, is going to be a big deal. So I don't think we're going to be needing any additional government administrations for a while after we get that. That seems fine. No problems whatsoever there. So we'll just have these queued. All looks good. We can get additional naval bases, and I'm actually going to queue these in all of the Sakhalin and Hokkaido adjacent locations, the non-locations of Sakhalin and Hokkaido. Everywhere but those two locations is what I'm trying to say. Market access is dropped in Kanto. We have a stall here. Yikes. That's not great. Low odds on that, too. Okay. That's a little sad, but we'll see how that ends up going. We do need to get the glassworks and steel mill situation sorted. That will be fine. In our journal here, expand the oil industry. Okay. Workforce occupancy is greater than 75%. This is probably just going to happen. Where did our oil rigs get built at? I don't actually know that off the top of my head. So resources, oil rigs, Chubu. Okay. So what do we have going on in our oil rigs right now? It's actually currently at 80%. We just need the cash reserves to come up. Fair enough. Weekly balance is negative right now because the price of oil is quite low. We're not shocked about that with our current production methods, so that's okay. I'm going to swap here and then go back over here just to make that go away. I don't want that to actually update the production method, but that's fine. Input goods shortage of coal is a big part of this as well. So just getting migration controls done would be a big deal on that front. So no problem there. We do currently have a bunch of barracks being built. To that end, I want to move up additional tooling. 1, 2, 3. Actually, let's move up all of these, now that I think about it. All of the tooling, all of the glassworks, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 steel mills. That's about half of them, right? Something like that. I think that's about half. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. We'll move 2 additional. We'll call that good. Okay. So all of that, of course, is going to take a little bit to build. That's going to be taking the focus off of building these barracks. That's okay. I'm going to move these 2 steel mills up. The tooling workshops will need to continue to be worked on, of course. But we need to get this all built in preparation for going to steel frame buildings. That's the idea here. So we're going to get that all finished. I do expect that this is going to cause us significant issues with iron. That's okay. For the time being, that is fine. Hey, we moved to consideration on the migration controls. I like it. So the Shogunate is not happy. We're not shocked about that. We're not shocked about that one at all. We do need to get the Shogunate out of power, and that will happen, but I think that migration controls are a bigger priority. I would absolutely love to get something other than just the pop growth up here. The pop growth is good. Don't get me wrong. We're happy that there's pop growth up here now and that we're no longer starving. That's a good thing, but we need to get some proper migration going up here. I keep coming back to, I really feel like internal and external migration should be different things. It shouldn't just be looped under migration. We should be able to, like, put controls on particular ethnic groups. And I know that kind of sounds terrible in the modern context, but we should be able to put controls on particular ethnic groups when we have the relevant laws to do so. And otherwise, closed borders should only be affecting external migration, not internal migration, in my opinion. But that's not the way it works. So I see we're building a coal mine up here in Sakhalin. That's probably not the worst thing at this point. That's probably an acceptable thing. But we do need to get migration controls done before we can really start to work on that. We'll definitely start to do a bunch of resource builds up there soon enough, but we need to get workers up there first to work on the infrastructure so that we can actually build without just completely destroying the place. We've got prerequisites up there, is the point. And that's okay. We'll definitely work our way through those. We'll get these steel mills done, and to that end, we could probably consider queuing these up at the end of the queue here. So we could queue these up at the end of the queue. If we need to, we can cancel them or delay them in some other way. But I would like to get these queued up at the end here, because we're going to eventually need these constructions. Eventually, that'll be a very good thing. Right now, if they were to get built, it would be bad. Quite bad. We don't want them to be built. Hey, we got an advancement here at least. I would have preferred going to adoption, but 43% isn't bad. Rolling in advance was actually low odds, and it's a good low odds, so I'm not upset about it. That's absolutely fine. So the steel mills are actually nearly done at this point. And that's good. I'm hoping to see that the price of steel is quite low right now. It's a little bit below normal. Okay, we're building the steel mills where exactly? Those are being built in Chubu? Okay. Ironclads have been unlocked. Sure. We can look at that in a moment. I want to check in here to see how much workforce do we have in our steel mills here. Okay, yeah, weekly balance is negative. This is good. This is what I want to see. Although we would like to bring down the price of coal. That would be a good thing. But this is actually what I want to see here, with the price of steel being negative right now to hire in more people. That's good because we're going to have a big, big surge in steel demand soon. Very soon, I might add. Glassworks, we want to be in largely the same position. And what do they actually utilize here? Lead? Okay, sure. I'm not too concerned about the price of lead. The price of iron is okay, which surprises me. The price of coal is not okay, and we would definitely like to handle that. But we need people up here first. So that means migration controls, right? That'll be fine. Now, I do want to check in on infrastructure. How are we doing here? Chubu could definitely use another railway. So we'll get that underway immediately. Checking in on government administration. I actually expect this to not be an issue. So I think we'll just let these be, because very, very soon we're going to get central archives, 10 to 13 weeks out from that. And that's going to give us a significant amount of additional taxation capacity. So I'm not concerned about that right now. Let's check in on the status of, what was that, ironclads? Steamships is probably pretty negative here, unless we get demand for it. So if we were to go into our development here, we can take naval bases over to ironclads. This is going to consume ironclads instead of man-o'-wars. We're currently producing man-o'-wars. For our port, we cannot go down to industrial ports. That would be what we would need for steamers. So for right now, swapping over to ironclads does not appear to make sense. We would need to first get access to gantry cranes. So that's okay. Are we actually working on gantry cranes in any meaningful capacity? No. Okay. Modern nursing is what's being worked on over here. Okay, we do move over to adoption for migration controls. That's very, very good. We're very happy about that one. Now, that is going to keep our unacceptable populace up here. I believe Ainu is in that status. Are they not? What is their... Yeah, this is their... Okay, is this considered an accepted location here? Second lane in Hokkaido, yeah. I'm not sure if this is an accepted culture or not. So are they discriminated against? I know that we can find that somewhere, and I forget where exactly. I would think it would be in here, though. So we've got national supremacy. Cultures will be accepted based on shares a heritage cultural trait, shares a cultural trait which is not a heritage cultural trait with any primary culture, which would, of course, be Japanese. So Ainu is... Okay, this icon must be indicating that they're not accepted. Gotcha. Yeah, it does say in the tooltip. They're discriminated. So that's fine. We do know that under migration controls, they are not going to be allowed to migrate, but Japanese people will be allowed to migrate in, which is actually what we want here. We want workers to arrive in these locations. We don't want them to leave and come to Japan, so this is fine. This is absolutely okay. No problem whatsoever there. It's very ethical. And we're going to finish up our glassworks here. We're in plenty of time for steel frame buildings. We're still 5 months away from that, so that all looks good. We're probably still going to have some issues from steel frame buildings, to be clear. But we're going to be in a much better position to handle this than we were before. Explosives are going to go up in cost a fair amount. We may want to get some chemical plants going here as well. Kanto would be the place to do that. So I'm going to take this up to, let's see here, 5 would bring us to 11, so we need like 25 in Kanto. We'll get that queued up. Do we need these all right away, though, is the question we need to ask here. And the answer is probably not. I'm going to move these guys up first. We're going to get the tooling workshops and the railways done, and then work on the chemical plants behind that. And we should have all of this done around the same time that we finish up steel frame buildings. That's the idea anyway. So the chemical plants will be worked on. It's probably being overbuilt, but that's okay. I would rather overbuild this than underbuild it. So that's absolutely fine. 1.6 pop growth, sure. So eventually we'd like to get the shogunate out of power, but they're not really in a good position for that right now. We do have an unacceptable government at this moment, but it should be fine. I'm not too concerned about getting radicalism at this exact moment. Should be okay. What do we have right now for emergency relief decrees? None. Okay, noted. I don't think we really need them up here. What we really need up here is people, right? So that we can really start developing it. There's migration controls. That's really good. Now, can we get anything else going? We could go to commercialized agriculture. This would probably radicalize the shogunate. Actually, it wouldn't. Going to homesteading would, but commercialized agriculture would not radicalize them. That's intriguing. Free trade would radicalize the shogunate. Protectionism would not. We may want to go to protectionism or mercantilism here. Isolationism gives us a lot of authority, but it does reduce our technology spread. It will reduce our taxation capacity, but we know that we're going to have a big gain of taxation capacity very soon. I'm leaning towards protectionism for right now, mostly because we need to keep the shogunate from radicalizing. So protectionalism would be decent. At least we get off of isolationism. So that'll be good. We need to get some of these laws passed through after all. So we'll let that go for now. We are going to finish up our tooling workshops very soon. We've got a bunch of chemical plants that are going to be worked on for a while here, but that's okay. That is okay. No major issues here, I think. Steel frame buildings are 11 weeks out, and how far are we away from Central Archives? 5 to 6 weeks? Yeah, no problem. This looks fine. So we should, in theory, be seeing some migration coming in up here eventually as jobs are available. Yeah, we can see they're coming into Hokkaido at a pretty solid rate. Sakhalin, not so much. Attraction is not amazing. We could boost this up with a greener grass campaign. That costs 100 right now, right? So we don't really have enough to do it at this exact moment with our social mobility. We're going to lose some of our social mobility, but we have religious schools now, so that's probably not the biggest of deals. Losing a little bit of social mobility is probably okay. If we do change over from isolationism, we're going to lose 50% authority. So we're going to have significantly less authority. We could think about dropping some consumption taxes. That's probably a decent way to go. If we were to raise our taxes to here, and then drop consumption taxes to compensate. Ideally, services. That does run us a significant deficit. We would have to run about here. That's perhaps okay. Even then, yeah, I'm okay with this. That seems fine. So that would then mean we would run a greener grass campaign here. We could also run one in Hokkaido if we wanted additional migration attraction here, which is not a bad thing. We've got good migration in Hokkaido. We don't see any migration into Sakhalin just yet, but hopefully that will start to happen. It might be because of this being a little disconnected, but I think we're actually connected here the same way Hokkaido is connected, so that should be okay. We'll just see if that ends up happening, if anything ends up coming through here. It would be good. There's steel frame buildings. Phenomenal. So this is probably going to create us some problems. Oh yeah. So steel is expensive. That's fine. We should have some steel headroom over here in Chubu. So we should be able to scale up our steel production. At least some amount. And yes, that does indeed appear to be the case. So we can scale up our steel production here. Oh yeah. Beautiful. Obviously, we're running a small deficit, but this is actually a less big deficit than I anticipated to have here. This is good. This is very solid. So we're building all of these chemical plants plus some barracks here. That looks good. No problem whatsoever here. We could definitely continue to expand our steelworks, and I think that's a good idea at this point. We have 9 queued up in Kansai. They must be buried in here somewhere. Iron mines in Hokkaido. Yeah. Naval bases. It would have been on the other side here. Yep. Let's move these steel mills right on up. Beautiful. There we go. So we'll get those going. We can certainly continue to expand our steel. For some reason, I thought we had moved all the steel up, but yeah, we only moved half of it. That is correct. So we'll move these up. That'll be absolutely okay. We're working on a bunch of chemical plants at the same time. We did have a stall on our protectionism, and we're going to end up taking a setback here. It's not ideal, but we will take a setback. I want to check in on Sakhalin. Do we have any migration here yet? We do not. Okay. There must be something that is different between Hokkaido and Sakhalin. I would have expected some amount of migration here at this point, unless everybody is just going to Hokkaido because it has higher migration attraction and it has open jobs. That might actually be what's happening here. If that's the case, then greener grass campaigns are actually completely worthless here, and we might as well not run them and just take the minus 5% enactment time. I'm not entirely certain that that's the way that the migration works here, but it might be. Maybe. So we could definitely start to move up Hokkaido constructions. At this time, I'm not interested in doing that because I want to get these steel mills and chemical plants done. But it is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we're going to get these completed and start to work through our steel shortage. And we're definitely going to be... Are we currently populating people into our logging camps here? No, we're not. Okay. So that would definitely be a good thing to do. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Shadow Wolf, Andy McGar, Spartan News, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Soccerman12UK, Kentogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.